Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. Wanted to be talking to you about a particular book I've been going through today. My channel simply called Discerning What is True. Um, the book I'm going through is called Psychology and Kabbalah. We're almost through the whole book, that is. We're in chapter 53, and the chapter is simply called Spirit. Like the soul, the triad of the spirit is one of consciousness and not of function. So it's talking about consciousness, okay? It's not something automatic here. Composed of hokulum, banal, and temporal, it occupies the lower part of the upper face of the psyche. This means that it overlays the lower face of the spiritual or creative world of Bariah, and it therefore corresponds at the psychological level to the transpersonal. By this, it meant that, unlike the soul, it is not concerned so much with the individual as the cosmic aspect of the psyche. Here is where one has a sense of one's place in the universe, although one might perceive that it is but a speck in the immeasurable of spirit. This is a vast dimension that some people experience in visions and dreams, meditations, and contemplation of the transpersonal part of their being. Situated at the center of this great triangle made of wisdom, understanding, and truth is the dark mirror of the Da, or knowledge. This is the veil before the Yazad, or foundation of the next world of creation, which lies beneath the collective unconscious. Carl Jung said that the unconscious contain the counterpart to the conscious, so that whatever was observed in the outer world was mirrored in the mind. For example, when we look towards the heavens at night, we perceive only what is inherited within us. With radio telescopes, we see more, but again, this is limited by what we know. The same is true of the psyche. As we penetrate the cosmos of the unconscious, so we only recognize that of which we are conscious of. In other words, you're only going to learn so much if you're conscious of it. Okay. To deepen our awareness of the inner world is to reach that same cosmic dimension. Many mysteries, or mystics, I should say, in brackets here, and indeed psychosis, in brackets, who have intentionally or inadvertently penetrated into the transpersonal dimension, give descriptions of what could only be called an interior universe that granted insight into the outer macrocosm. One man, a physician by training, which seated on a bench, suddenly saw all that he had been taught transform into a living reality as he perceived the cosmic dance all about him. This spiritual experience became the basics of a book that related ancient metaphysics, I should say, to modern science. Indeed, there are many accounts of similar experience down the ages. Some call it, quote, cosmic consciousness, end quote, while others refer to it as, quote, peak experience, end quote, while yet others term it as a view of the heavenly halls, end quote. For most people, this cosmic level is as removed as the Milky Way because their gaze is fixed upon earthly events. The daily round of life is more than enough to occupy them, and they are not aware of the subtle but great changes going on in the universe and the collective unconscious. A prophet is someone who is sensitive to this reality and perceives the trends of the time. Such persons, or such people, I should say, can sometimes discern coming events with fine accuracy. This is possible if one has access to the patterns and forms being created in the upper part of the world Ijara. People who have developed the Banal, temporal, and Hakamum triad within themselves can precede the state of a society and prognosticate its future in the same way doctors predict the patterns of growth and disease. Seeing Kabbalastically, that is, prophecy is an insight into the working of providence. Thus, a person who operates from the spiritual triad of the psyche can sometimes see the way events will unfold. For example, there was in the 16th century a seer called Branham, spelled Brahan, who foresaw railways. Such foresight was not uncommon among red Indian medicine men of other primitive shamans. These people could pick up on forms that were yet to manifest in the physical world. This gift requires either many years, if not several lifetimes, of development or a, quote, act of grace that sometimes grants such visions. The Bible calls such people lesser prophets. In modern parlance, they are all called psychics, who, it must be said, are not always reliable when it comes to interpretation because they work off the side triads and not the center pillar, and are therefore often biased by a dominant function. The triad of the spirit is concerned with the desirate, and psychological appreciation of universal principles. This is seen in archetypal formations such as mandalas. For example, the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching are a set of metaphysical images of the interaction of the basic processes that govern the universe, while the astrological system is a Middle Eastern view of the outer and inner cosmos. Yet another formation is the Hebrew Aleph, spelled Alef-Bet, Bet, in what the script of the drama of creation is written. The vision of Ezekiel, that is, of the chariot, throne, and fiery man, is a Uzara picture of the universe, as are the books of Enoch and Revelations. By the way, Phil Langdon has written the books talked about them on the area of Enoch and also the book of Revelations. By the way, with the 22 cards, that is the tarot cards, and along with the 22 letters of the Hebrew language, and along with what we call, I told you letters, language, that is alphabets, and also the 22 cards, so to speak, and also the 22 chapters in the book of Revelation. That is not by happenstance, folks. That's what Phil Langdon shared with us in the past. Here is where one enters into cosmic consciousness. This is the level where Buddha saw the chain of all his lives in a moment, as the upper face of Yara came together with the lower face of Araya and allowed the light of the divine world of Zithal to flood through the dark gate of Da to illuminate him. He was a great, or what they would say here, he was a greater prophet. So it's got a graph here again of the whole, the pillars here. And it's spoken of in a different way here as compared to last time. So at the very top is I am. And then we come to the side parts of what we call the pillars here, and their names and what we call, after the first step down to the middle section, was called Metatron, Metatron. To the left-hand side is Adam Catman, and to the right is Enoch. And then below Metatron is called the Great Holy Council. And then when we go back to the left again, we have what we call sages. And to the other side, we would call it saints. And also, along this path, outside the pillars, is called self-realized spirits. That is greater mysteries. I think this is great mystic schools of the spirit. So as we come down after Metatron, we come down to what we call the Great Holy Council. Again, this is in the middle pillar. And then to the sides, step down, is going to be sages onto the left. In the middle is going to be called greater. And to the right is going to be called the saints. And to the also the outside part here is the next part, what we call enlightenment, which would be in the middle pillar would be the Messiah. And if we come down on both sides again at a 45-degree angle, or roughly maybe a 30-degree angle, we have sages to, again, as it was before, on the left. In the middle is lesser. So these are lesser sages and also lesser saints. So the other ones were greater sages, that is before Messiah. Afterwards is lesser saints. If we drop down even further down, we see that the sages have what are called the spirit coming down, and also the saints coming down. And in the middle again of the middle pillar is called THAT. That. As we continue on, as this area is called, and again on the right side, outside of the pillars, is called destiny. I said right. I'm sorry. I meant to say left. Left. So destiny is outside the pillar, and on the outside of the other pillar, on the right side, is called evolving spirits. As we drop down continuously, as we drop, is a section called individuals. And as we continue to work with this going further down, we have such a thing on the left side. It's simply called lesser mysteries, the school of the soul. And when along the side of the right and the left here is called discarnated humanity. And in the middle there is what again is called self. Again, the two saws coming down to soul. Before this was spirit, now soul, the self. On the right pillar, or outside the right pillar, is called mature souls. The drop down comes down to what we call leaders before we come to the ego. On the left-hand side, we have what are called fate. On the right hand is developing souls. After that is what we call the masses. And below that, in the middle pillar, for me to easy to say, is called the body. At this point, it's called, on the right side, outside the pillar, is called incarnate humanity. And below that is called the living dead in the middle. After that, onto the extreme right again is called young souls. And the last part at the root of the tree is called I am, which is the same thing as it is at the top. So the figure 54 is simply called present. At this moment in evolution, here is the situation. The living dead are those who have destroyed their possibility of growth in this life. Okay, this is why people don't find the truth. Okay, they're living in a physical, but they're dead inside. Okay, so it's called the living dead are those who have destroyed their possibility of growth in this life through some habitual misdemeanor. Young souls are those who have only been incarnated a few times. The more developed are seen as leaders and individuals, while those who are well on the path of self-realization are graded according to their spiritual level and mission. The Messiah is whoever occupies the position of being incarnate, but in direct contact with the divinity. Enoch, as the first fully self-realized human, presides as teacher of teachers over the whole operation. Again, this is from Halebe, the author of this particular book. As we continue, if we look at a mature tree of the psyche in the light of what we have learned, we will see that it is composed of many different parts that have slowly been building up and refining their capacity or capability, I should say, over the years. If this was all that was involved in development, we would be nothing more than a collection of psychological mechanisms ordered by a central controlling system. But this is not so. there is also a process of integration and unification going on, which enlarges our capability. Thus, a person who contains the mineral, the vegetable, and animal kingdom in their body and the various human parallels in their mind can encompass these levels and relate them to the universe. It is this that makes a human being part of a larger process and gives them access to the collective experience. Thus, a person can know what others have done, thought, and felt in any time and place if they have reached the cosmic degree of awareness that the banal, temporal, and hokum represents. The psychological triad of the spirit is an individual contact with the grand design. It enables the person to see where they fit into the flow and manifestation of time and space. By this is meant what point they have reached in their development and where they can operate most effectively as a useful unit in the unfolding of evolution. Take the person who has an imbalance of side pillars. Such an individual could not be relied upon to be objective about the relationship between men and women. However, an individual who has actually attained a blend of the masculine and feminine within themselves can relate to both with equanimity. And equanimity is extremely useful because their counsel will be understanding and wise. That is to say, they have married their Adam and Eve. Such people perform a great service to the universe in more ways than one. They are the psychological androgynes, that is, that Jung speaks of, neither bisexual nor sexless. They have the capacity to appreciate both pillars because they have brought the king and queen of Hokulum and Mana together. When an individual reaches this point of interior development, their center of gravity shifts from the individual to the transpersonal. This means that they are capable of perceiving from an objective level, even though they may be this or that sex. So in other words, when they come to this maturity, they are not subjective, but they are objective in seeing things. They don't take biases. They don't take the masculine side or the feminine side, so to speak. They see the whole picture. So they don't have a bias, you see. And most people do have a bias. You know, if you're born in a particular body, you're going to express certain feminine traits. If you're born as being a man or boy, I should say, you show masculine traits, so to speak, you see. This means that they are capable of perceiving from an objective view, as I said earlier, even though they may be this or that sex. That's not the key here. They're no longer controlled by their physical. That's possible because the integration of the spiritual triad focuses the personal consciousness and its unconscious counterpoint into a alignment with the collective at the place where the lower three worlds meet in the self, giving it the universal or universe view. Universe view simply means a higher perspective, you see. The addition of the spiritual dimension to the place of the self, moreover, brings both the physical and psychological into direct contact with the cosmos, so that, or I should say cosmic, I should say, so that the individual may come to know who they are and what their destiny is. This cosmic aspect of life is meaningless to most people, you see, although they may perceive it in their culture and religion, which are external projections of that level. The devout Jew, the Christian, and the Muslim, they have different versions of the spiritual dimension, but if they saw behind the desira, that is the form, they would perceive the same essential reality as the Hindus, Confucius, and other traditions. The cosmic archetypes of mankind, as Jung observed, may vary in style, but there is no real difference between them. Good and evil, order and chaos are universally recognized. Life and death, growth and decay are seen in the stellar realm as well as of the level of plant and animal and human beings. However, can operate in any of the worlds so that it is possible for them to perceive, experience, and work where they choose, if they have the will to develop all the aspects of their divine, spiritual, psychological, and natural possibilities. In other words, it's there for people if they are aware to pursue these things, you see. But if you're not aware, you're not going to understand any of this. You never will, because it simply is you've not gotten to a certain stage, you see. From a cosmic viewpoint, the human race has only been on the earth for a relatively short time. Those who came at the beginning and have spent many lives learning about life materially, that is, have now matured and lead the younger members of mankind who have been descending generation by generation to incarnation over the last few millennia. Some of these elder individuals are well known to us as prophets, sages, and saints, but many are quite unrecognized as those who make history. For example, some are those who introduce important ideas or inventions. No one knows the name of the man who brought printing blocks into Europe from China, but this act changed the course of Western history as printed books gave millions access to knowledge. That traveler from China was an instrument of destiny. Whether he was conscious of what would be the result or not, we will never know. But some individuals do see their task, like the man who compiled a dictionary of long dead language, which is now the vernacular spoken in Israel. Originally, in the hallmark of creation, people who work from the Pariah level alter our view of existence by introducing something new, like the Greeks who said the world was round, or the Americans who proved that it was possible to fly. Those discoveries shift mankind's perception of reality. This triad grants access to the Pariah celestial atmosphere where inspiration originates. Freud and Jung drew upon this level when they opened the Western mind to the inner cosmos of the unconscious. Their work has affected science, art, and commerce, warfare and advertising, police work, and education. They brought about a breakthrough just as Orthodox religion began to fade and lose its hold upon many people looking for an interest into the way of the spirit. It is interesting to note that both Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud were born at just the right times and places so that they could meet and then part in order to pollinate and stimulate clinical psychology, and so move it out of the mechanism phase. This is the work of providence as it operates through the spiritual triad of the individual and collective unconscious to open up what is hidden behind the non-sephirah of Da that overlays the Yesod of Bariah. So it's a master plan, you see. You see what's going on here. It's a work of providence. It says that. It's a master plan to eventually, gradually get mankind to come into more awareness of who he is and what he is and why he's here, you see. When a person is chosen to carry out some cosmic task, they are not conceived and born under the ordinary laws of karma or fate, but of destiny, which will train and then direct that individual to meet the time when their whole being is in tune, not only within but without, so that the microcosmic and the macro act as one. The triad of wisdom, understanding, and beauty is the sixth level of 7 halls, Halls, end quote. Within the Kabbalistic organization of the psyche, a person enters this hall when they reach the third stage of the self. This means that they are masters of their body and lower psyche, can control the side triads, and are conscious at the soul level. This allows them to contain the worlds of Assyria, I should say not Assyria, Asiyy, Assyria, and Yuzara. and to move at will into Bariah, so that they can walk, talk, think, and feel, and yet be in contact with the world of the spirit. Such an achievement indicates that the psychological process of maturation is almost complete. The last and highest hall of the psyche is the triad formed by the Manal, Akum, and Keter of Yazara, just below the place where the three upper worlds meet. Here at the crowd, here at the crown, I should say, of the psyche, the individual comes into direct contact with the divine world of Adam Kathman. And so it shows an illustration here, almost as though it's in a spirit world. It's an art piece here, and it has light. It's almost as though it's a mystery to all of us, you see. But in reality, when it shows this picture here, you can download this book. Very simply go into, I'll tell you after the show, so you'll know that at that point. It's almost like a cabin, a cave, so to speak, but there's light within, so to speak. So figure 55 is explaining, and this is what it is. So what it's explaining is ascension. This is what's happened to Phil Langdon, basically over 10 years ago, maybe longer than that. What this is, he meets God within himself. God resides in all of us, but the key is simply we haven't woken up. We haven't come to the point of the abilities within us to do that. Okay. And that's what we're talking about here. This is all about ascension. Every bit of it's about, you see. Unfortunately, that word has become, what do you want to call it? It's become popular, which was not popular even 25 years ago. So what he's saying here is simply, here an advanced spirit of the level of creation symbolizes by the airy, A-I-R-Y, environment of cloudy halls approaches the fiery light of the divine. Such an experience is not beyond the psyche, as the crown of its tree is where the three upper worlds meet. This event can occur in deep contemplation, meditation, or ritual. It can also happen in a conscious prophetic dream. Such moments can and do change a life. This is a painting from a gentleman named John Martin Print in the 19th century. So that's our conclusion of chapter 53 tonight, which is called simply Spirit. Again, the book is simply called Psychology and Kabbalah. And we're going through all the chapters here tonight. Not tonight, but we'll be finished here in the next few days. So I thank you for being here. I'm glad you can participate and listen to this. So I was going to tell you where you can find this particular book, so to speak. There is a website that has many books you can download. It's just simply called, in lowercase, welib.org. That's all you got to do. You can sign up. It doesn't cost you a penny at all. And you can look up certain books, either by the title or by the author, or also by the what I call ISBN number. I think it's like a 13-digit number, I think. Or I guess in other worlds, other areas is DOI, which I don't have any idea what it is, and an MDS, which I have no idea what it is. And you can read these books online. You got the opportunity, folks. It's no excuse anymore. You know, this knowledge is there. It's available online. You have no excuse anymore because I can't afford it. No, this is free. This doesn't cost you anything as long as you got a computer and the internet. So there is no more excuses anymore. You see, the information is here. So again, appreciate you being here. We have, I think, 2 more chapters left. The next chapter I'll be going through is called Divinity, which is we'll be going through again what I'll call the tree in a picturesque way. And let's see if there's any more chapters after that. That is the last chapter. That will be the last chapter in the book. It will be chapter 53, I think it is. So it'll be one more chapter. Just want to scroll back. Yeah, it'll be the last chapter here in this particular book. This is a great book. Yeah, the chapter will be named chapter 54, and it'll be called simply Divinity. Which is what you're, as a human being, that's the goal, to become divine within, you see. So thank you for listening. And I will share this it'll be on my YouTube channel, naturally, and it will be on my Facebook channel also. Thank you for being here, and I wish you a good evening. You take care.